I want to thank everybody for coming out today. Um, this is an important conversation. And, I especially want to thank Ricardo, who has been an amazing community manager for the One Piece community. I want to thank Ken, who is joining us on what is normally his night off when he gets to play role playing games with his friends. So thank you for taking time away from that, Ken. I want to thank all of the Game Kastle staff, especially AJ, who is filling in on my shift because I normally work the counter on Sunday nights, and as well as all of the other staff. And most of all, I want to thank you, community members, for being here because these are important issues you all have raised. We started a feedback process about 6 weeks ago. Ken will walk through a bunch of the details of that. And this is the final stage in that feedback process. We want all of you to be informed on what we've done so far. So as we figure out how to sort of handle a lot of the issues that surround One Piece, we know the best ways to serve you in our community. We did decide to do this through theater mode, but do not worry, there will be the opportunity to speak later on. One of the things that Ken or Ricardo will handle is getting everyone the education on how to let you know that you would, or let us know that you want to be brought on stage to ask a question or make a comment later on. You know, ultimately, our goal is to serve as wide a swath of our community as possible. We cannot be all things to all people, but what we want to do is be the best we can within the limits that we face. And at this point in time, I'm going to turn things over to Ken and Ricardo, but I will be here listening if anyone needs me. And, have at it, Ken.
Well, hello. A lot of you probably already know me. I'm typically there for all the One Piece releases. My name is Ken Ingram. I'm the store manager. Ricardo, do you want to introduce yourself? Because I'm gonna blast through things pretty quickly, but I'll give you a minute or two to say hi if you like.
Yeah. Hey everybody, it's me, Ricardo. I saw a lot of you guys yesterday during our pre-release event. I'm the TO, as most of you guys know.
And then while we're doing introductions, I wanna help people out here who may not know. Me and Boyd work for the store. Ricardo handles all of our events. So the clear line that we like to draw is that if there's any questions or decision making that needs to happen regarding products or anything for the store, it happens for us. Ricardo is a person who doesn't make any sort of tough decisions for the door, but he's there every week making events happen. So just to sort of, as we move forward, if you have some questions, that's sort of who they should be directed at. It's mostly, I think, for today, going to be directed at me and Boyd, but just as we get further down the road, you know who we're coming from. But yeah, Boyd's going to be running the slides. I've got my notes on my screen, and I'm going to do this very cool thing where I say slide, and then Boyd pushes the next slide. Excellent, cool. So there's our agenda for today. So we're going to roll through this pretty quickly. I have a timetable, and I'm going to try and adhere to that timetable so that we can get to a speaking portion for everybody here. I'm going to teach you guys how to do sort of like how to sort of cue yourself up to get on stage. You'll need a microphone to get on stage. If you don't have that, we can just do text, but we're going to worry about that later. But everyone should be able to see that slide. This is our agenda here. So to go over quickly, we're going to talk about who are the legitimate One Piece players, what is our goal for the One Piece program we have, how do we take feedback, what have we done, how we learned from it, and then what are some of the issues that we've identified by everybody. And sort of to wrap up, we're going to talk about what we've done to solve or at least mitigate some of those issues, and then we're going to push it up to a much more open thing where everyone can sort of get a chance to talk. The reason why I'm going to talk very quickly is because, again, I want to get to that point where you guys can talk. But yeah. So we're going to push it to this next slide here. Look at that. Oh. It's coming. Hey, thank you, Boyd. All right, cool. So the first thing that we want to talk about, who are the types of people who want the One Piece trading card game in the store? So there's 4 big types that we've identified. So organized play players, the OP players, which are the people who show up every week. Who sort of buy products, they hang out in the store, they talk in the Discord, there are most of you that are probably here right now. Those are sort of our core people, but that's not all of them. There's a couple other people that we want to sort of consider here. There's the casual players. They are here buying things, and they're sort of sometimes in the Discord, sometimes talking, but they're not the people who are here playing all the time. There are probably some of you here. Then there's the store community, but not for One Piece. They're the people who sort of are interested in One Piece. They don't casually play. They may not regularly play. They may sometimes hang out here, but they're just interested in the game or curious about it, but they aren't sort of regular faces that we know. And then there's the fourth person that we talk about, which is scalpers.
I want to jump in there on that last group. Is a lot of those are faces that we know who do like One Piece, but aren't necessarily part of the One Piece organized play community. They may be actively participating in the Game Kastle College Park community through other methods. They may be a regular player of a different game. They might be very involved with our conventions program. They may be involved in some other way.
I would probably lump myself in there. I just started watching the live action show and have been looking at the card game, but I haven't played yet. So I'd probably put myself in there. Yeah, the last person in here is the scalpers. We all know them. We don't like them. We could draw a frowny face right there. Those are people that aren't interested in playing. They aren't interested in interacting with the community. They're just interested in grabbing products. But we don't need to go over that too much. I'm pretty sure everybody knows who they are. All right, what's our goal? Our next slide. We're doing good on time. All right, so our goal is basically how do we balance all those type of people, all the people that we want, the legitimate people, those first three groups that I mentioned, the organized players, the store community, and then the casual people. And then how do we sort of mitigate or eliminate scalpers from this problem? That's the difficult question, but it's sort of the core of this whole discussion here. My big goal for the store is to provide as many games as possible for people and support our healthy communities in a way that is both inviting and empowering. That goes for everybody. We sort of balance a lot of spinning plates here. And yeah, I think we're going to go back to our next slide, which is our feedback slide. All right, there we go. Thank you. All right. So feedback we have here is pretty extensive. We started with the store survey Boyd talked about. We did it in February. We got a lot of responses. If you were there for it, you remember how long it was. There was one question that was very confusing, but a lot of people sort of powered through it. We also get all of our feedback through Discord, in-person feedback emails given to everybody. So not just myself and Boyd. I take all the feedback that we get through, people have conversations with other staff members, and they sort of forward those discussions to me so I can track of them. And then, of course, Ricardo is also a great person. He'll take feedback from in-store play every week and give it to me when he can. In addition to that, we do managers meetings. So we do a meeting every week, Boyd and I. We do big quarterly meetings where all the management staff get together. We've talked about One Piece issues. I've also had one-on-ones with Ricardo and some other people as well. So we get a lot of feedback kind of everywhere. And it's sort of a big part of the decision-making process. One of the things that you may not recognize here, Gamma Expo, is that little globe next to that image there. The Gamma Expo is the Games Manufacturers Association. In short, that's basically where all of the sort of game stores in North America and abroad get together and sort of talk with distributors and each other and basically share kind of what we all do with each other and help each other. There I've talked with, I've brought this issue up with other game stores. I've talked to people from like names you guys might know, like Star City Games or Gamers Guild. We also talked to other Game Castles. If you didn't know, Game Kastle is a franchise. So they've got stores over in Texas and California and other places like that experience the same sort of thing. And so it's not just our management heads sort of put together, it's other game stores and then even people who share the same title and the blue logo. So we're going to go next. This next slide is sort of the big areas that we've identified as issues, just to sort of break it down, and then we'll sort of take this apart piece by piece. So the big three. So the biggest one is there's not enough product available out there. And the second issue is how do you allocate the product that we do get? And that goes to that sort of earlier slide by dividing legitimate players and non-legitimate players, right? How do you decide where best to put what you get to the right people? And then that third slide or third part is just the anti-scalper efforts. Some of the other we've heard a lot of other feedback, mostly about like that people aren't sort of being looked after, or some people are being forgotten, or people being treated poorly. This is sort of when we get together for those big meetings and we take all that feedback, this is sort of what we're looking at. So you guys may not see sort of all the meetings and conversations that we have, but just the last 2 weeks alone have been hours and hours thinking about you guys and trying to help this situation here. But yeah, so the big three issues. Let's go to the first, limited one piece supply, which is our next slide here. We are doing great on time. Okay, cool. So what's the big thing that we hear always related to one piece supply? We want more of it coming into the store. We physically want more cards and products into the store so we can do things with it. There's been a couple developments here that we sort of want to keep you guys read in on. Some of the expanded OP programs and improved reporting functions just for upper minimum allocations. That I'll break down. And I think the big thing to think about here is when we talk about allocations, we're talking about what we get going into the store via distribution and Bandai. So there's two things happening here. So Bandai has an organized play system that chooses stores when they prove themselves that they can legitimately run card games in their store, and they will give that store an allocation minimum. They'll talk with the distributor, and that distributor will say, hey, here's your minimum. You can get this much as a minimum, and then they'll give you a maximum. And they sort of like to play hide the ball with that, which is if you see my hair turn gray in the next year or two, that's the reason why. Trying to find out what that maximum is the real issue here when we're talking about allocations. So Bandai will set a minimum. Now, they've done some interesting things I'll talk about in a second, but that maximum is what me and Boyd try and do basically every day to try and up it. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But the minimum, the minimum was sort of a little cloudy. If you were here really early on in the store's sort of lifespan, the minimum when the store started was about, you get like 16 booster boxes, which is enough to run a pre-release when you first sign your store. That's changed. This year at Gamma, which we attended just a month ago in Kentucky, they announced that they're introducing a new store play program, which guarantees, I think, 60 boxes to new stores, which is a huge deal. When they announced that, my ears were ringing from everyone in the crowd cheering. Every game store has this sort of issue, especially the new ones. So what that has done is Bandai's raising that minimum that we get. Now, we haven't heard much more about it, but my hope is we're sort of at a point now where we've grown from 12 boxes to past 65 now. We sort of crested that not too long ago. But now that new stores are getting 65, we're hoping that will mean that the lower bar is raised for everybody. Now, fingers crossed, in a perfect world, that would be how the minimums work. But maximum is the real, like I said earlier, my hair going gray. Maximum is based on a couple different factors, and those are exclusively through distribution. So how much can we buy as a maximum from a distributor is typically based on spending. How much a store spends as a customer will let distributors say, okay, well, Game Kastle spends a lot of money with us. Let's give them more one piece to buy. It's a sort of Ouroboros snake that eats its own tail, right? Everybody wants more product, but the people who have already bought a lot of product get more, and it continues and continues. So we try and sort of do what we can take up that maximum. And that doesn't include just one piece. If I buy a bunch of things from a distributor, like paintbrushes and other TCGs and, I don't know, displays or whatever, that all sort of increases that maximum that they give us. Another big update that they announced was typically Bandai was only sold by one big distributor or two. One of them just went bankrupt. They added two new distributors to the list, so we're now looking at three big ones. So when we were talking about minimums and maximums, if we there's like a put all your eggs in one basket scenario. If we order from multiple distributors and start doing, that maybe helps us get a little bit more. So that's a tactic that I use with a bunch of other games. If allocations are tight, if I ask 5 people, can I get something? Then if every one of those 5 distributors gives me something, a little bit of something, then the end product is actually a lot bigger than it used to be. So Bandai is opening up those options, so it should hopefully get a little bit bigger here. What else is there for limited One Piece supply? We're shifting some of our other spending over to the distributors that can carry One Piece. Currently, we're doing that right now. It takes a little bit of time, but we should start seeing the effects of that in the sort of near future here. And then the sort of last thing is that Game Kastle, being a franchise, has a sort of unified voice, which we're trying to push towards our distributors to say, hey, all of the Game Castles are good customers. Maybe we can help out the allocations from distribution a little bit here. Now, that's a big topic, distribution. We'll be opening this up to sort of Q&A later. I would probably write down any sort of questions on distributions that you have for me, and then I can answer them there. But some of the things that I've heard about sort of helping out the allocation, sort of the limited One Piece supply is holding a lottery system. That is it's a good idea, but it doesn't help our sort of regular players. If you're sort of randomly doing a lottery system, it can sort of look a little uneven. We are doing what we're doing now is we're selling less product at a time. We can sell to more people. Another suggestion I've heard is have we thought about selling product at different times to sort of help with limited One Piece supply. And we sort of found that solution to be a little too confusing for people. And sort of what that looks like is, hey, we're going to sell 10 boxes at this hour, 10 boxes at that hour, and 10 boxes in this hour, or something like that. And we find that typically leads to more frustration, because if everyone shows up in the first hour, I'm not going to tell 50 people to go home and come back at a random hour. It sort of feels like playing hide the ball, which I don't like doing. But yeah, I think we've done enough of this slide. Let's go to player allocation changes. All right, thank you, Boyd. All right, so what we've heard was we aren't taking enough efforts to ensure that more product doesn't end up in the wrong hands. This is focusing on that scalper type of player. So the things that we're trying to do is, the last slide said a lot there, but we're trying to limit. The big one is we're limiting day of purchasing, which goes along with one of the suggestions to sort of cut the seal, the plastic saran wrap on boosters. That does a lot to sort of deter people from selling products online. Now, that itself, I've seen people turn away when we told them that we were only going to sell 12 boosters at a time because they might want to sell it, but it could be for myriad other reasons. What else have we done? So we limited pre-orders. This is a tough one. Pre-orders are a really difficult subject to have here. I have more boosters in the hands of our local players, which we can open up to pre-orders. But the problem with pre-orders is allocations can be cut early, right before release. And if that happens, I have to honor those pre-orders. And so if we do some quick math, if I saved 30% of my boosters for pricing, and I save 30% for boosters for pre-orders, but then my number that I thought I was going to get gets cut down, suddenly those percentages go way out of whack. And the worst thing that can happen is that those 30% of pre-orders suddenly end up being 60% of all that we got. Then I have to cancel pre-orders, and I don't know. Pre-orders are about as sacred as I can get. If you sort of give us our money early for something, I want to sort of honor that to the best of my ability. And so because allocations can be so tricky, we tend to lean away from it. Yeah. All right. So what else are we doing? So We covered limiting pre-orders, limiting quantities, and upping the proportion of allocation of pricing. So one of the things I want to note, I talked about a little bit earlier, when we're allocating, we get an X amount of product for a new event for One Piece. I have to allocate a certain percentage of it to make sure that we can cover One Piece pricing for local play. And that's sort of priority number one. If we're going to hold in-store events, we have to have pricing for them. We sort of always need to make sure that we have that. That always comes first. If there's 100 people in line and all of my product has to be used for pricing, I have to use it for pricing. That has never changed. That's something that I don't think people see. But I think it's important to sort of note on when we're talking about allocation challenges. That sort of contributes there. All right, the next slide. Anti-scalping efforts. We're almost done here. All right, so one of the things we've heard, we aren't taking enough efforts to sort of deter scalpers. Now, some of the things we have done, we talked about earlier, we're limiting quantities and cutting plastic. That's a helpful thing here. We're pricing to preserve margins. One of the things that Bandai has done recently is they've increased the tariff, increased their prices in tandem. And that sort of snuck up on us. And so we had to raise our pricing there. But also what we found is that when we raise that pricing, it tends to deter a lot of people. I think for a little while there, we were known for having low prices, and that sort of put a target on our back, which sort of exacerbated this effort. When One Piece gets popular, there was sort of the word out that the boxes were already pretty cheap, which is, exacerbated this whole issue. We've also changed lounge management. The thing with chairs that we talked about, this is a little while ago, we talked about this. People were using chairs to hold spaces. That's just not something that we do. But the big bottom line here is that, we have to make efforts to sort of cure this scalper problem, but we can't do something that eliminates one of those core player bases, like those casual players that we talked at the top of this thing. We want to get rid of scalpers, but we can't make a situation where we sort of close off all of One Piece product to only a select few, where we're sort of holding the gate where new players like me who are casual, if they wanted to get into the game, there's no real option for them. And the worst thing we want to do is we want to make a measure that is too powerful, and we enforce something that deters scalpers, but it also deters new people and they feel scared, right? We don't want a person to say, hey, I saw the new show One Piece, I want to get into the card game, and local players sort of have this idea that like everybody is the enemy. That's something we never ever want to do. That's something that will never. I fight that, so hard, because there's people out there who are timid. They might be scared, and sort of any sort of attitude that other people aren't welcome because we want to sort of keep things to ourselves is tough. I've heard some suggestions on how to sort of solve this. One of them was like a knowledge quiz. How can we deter scalpers is by asking some sort of questions that revolve around some rules and lore about the show, and sort of the idea is the same there. If we sort of ask a new person who's excited about the game, do you know the secret code? Yes, it would deter scalpers, but it would also deter new players. So it's sort of why we have.
A knowledge test also feels a little too much like Jim Crow South to me.
Yeah. All right. The next slide is the best slide, which is essentially, we've sort of reached my sort of long tangent here, and we reached it 5 minutes ahead of time. So if I went a little fast, I apologize, but I wanted to make sure that people had time to talk. Now, Boyd, you might be more familiar with how people sort of raise their hands to sort of want to speak here. Do you think you can go over that?
Sure. I think the easiest way to do it is you just right click on your icon in the audience, and there should be a thing that says raise hand or ask to speak. And when that happens, we see that too. And then we'll bring you up onto the stage one at a time so everyone can hear you. And it looks like we have our first person.
Cool. Yeah. So, not everyone has microphones. If you want to sort of put something in the chat, we can sort of look at it when we get the chance to. But yeah, feel free to.
All right. I think we've got Infuriated, who I hope is not infuriated at us, but might be. Let us know what the score is.
No, hello. How are you all? Many in the community know me. My name's Infuriated Jason Ball. My son Charles and I play there regularly. We appreciate you guys. We love the space. We love the community. Ricardo's great. I don't need to keep talking about how great he is. We all know. Please, no one else talk about how great he is. It'll go to his head. But we love you guys and appreciate you all.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm just trying to pull up my notepad here. I just want to say again, we appreciate you all as a staff in the store. We know that our community has more than tripled recently. I think many of us would just like it if those of us who help build the community and are continuing to build the community and play in store regularly, like twice a month or more, are given that chance at pre-order and at least one box per person. I've been able to take advantage of the ability to order over the phone, but I do think ordering over the phone is a bit of a problem because it allows scalpers to take advantage of it. I completely understand and agree with you in not wanting to push casual players out, but I think even casual players still have that same ability to come into the store at least twice a month and interact, if not with the community, but with you guys as owners and as other casual players to introduce themselves, to have that opportunity to purchase product. I think twice a month isn't a lot to ask, and it still rewards your regular community with the opportunity to grab product. I know a lot of other businesses, it may be relevant, it might not be, are transitioning to some version of that. Whereas if you participate in locals twice a month or two of their events twice a month for that particular game, they're then allowing you the opportunity to pre-order only one box there as a quote unquote regular participant. That's all I have to say on the product category. Again, we all know that allocation has been horrible for a lot of these things. And we appreciate you guys even just listening and making this a thing. Participation packs for these locals events. We know about having to allocate product for that too. There's been some confusion early on. We want new players to get packs just like everybody else, because we were new players at one point or another. But at the same time, players that participate in those events and they do well, they want to feel like they're compensated for doing well. A lot of other places in that regard reward everyone with the tournament packs that they send you guys, and the actual packs that come out of the boxes. Those are usually rewarded to the top 4 or the top 8 in most cases. But some stores, if they have a smaller tournament, it's rewarded to the top 4 players. That way you have more product for the guys that are winning, as I said earlier, but the other people still get their tournament pack for having shown up and participated. That's it. Like I said, I can't stress enough how much I appreciate you guys doing this and just listening to us and even taking it into consideration. And I hope that it all works out. I know initially it will, but thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Yeah. Jason, right?
Yes.
You couldn't be farther from the word infuriated.
Yeah, it's just I'm a big mean looking dude, so but thank you.
Yeah, so sorry, you might have heard me type while you were talking. I apologize for that. But yeah, so taking orders over the phone, scalpers can take advantage of that, which is a good point here. I think if we were going to do pre-orders ever at a point, I think we've sort of learned from that. I don't think orders over the phone are going to be something that we can ever do for One Piece, at least in the foreseeable future. That's just a good note. But we've talked
and
a lot
I've taken advantage of it and I loved it. But again, I just think eliminating that would allow locals players and people who are there in person to actually purchase product.
Yeah, and I don't know how much staff are in this chat, but I can tell you if I said no phone orders, the staff would cheer. They sort of get bombarded by it. But yeah, we talked a little bit about participation, sort of like precluding pre-orders. and that's a difficult one. Ricardo's actually gone through the data entry process of tracking everyone's attendance here. And I'm sort of looking at everyone's attendance. I mean, you told us not to tell everyone how great Ricardo is, but I'm gonna give one more hurrah here. But yeah, he literally every single person. So there's 56 individual people who've been playing in the store since February 21st, and he's broken them down into categories of who's played during what week and how often they've played. So I can see the people with perfect attendance here. I can also see the people who maybe only played once. I think we would have to sort of take some serious consideration on 2 or more participating events to order boxes, because if I look at that, the great news is a lot of people who played 2 or more weeks. That's a phenomenal thing. But the bad news is that I think it's over 30 people. So if we were to do 30 full boxes, there's a real chance that on the day of, if allocation drops, we might be looking at like a nightmare scenario of maybe we can't fulfill all those full box pre-orders. We might maybe think about 12 packs per person if we want to do it that way. But there's also, I mean, that's a solution that I'll think about. I think it's got good legs. One of the other issues that I can sort of see is that if we're worried about allocations being so tight and people are pre-ordering stuff, they're like, do we prevent people from buying stuff the day of? That sort of feels bad, but when we call on other people, feel free to chime on that. And then the note about participation packs, I love that. But yeah, I think if anyone else wants to talk, raise that hand.
I just want to jump in with one other item there on phone orders. I think there's 2 kind of phone orders that we need to kind of address. One is phone orders during the pre-order period, and one is phone orders on release day. As Ken has noted, phone orders during the pre-order period, when we have one, they present all sorts of issues, but when we feel like we can do them, we do them. And that's something that if this community says, actually, we would prefer that people have to come in and buy it in person, we can look into that. I do want to say, as far as phone orders are concerned, on an actual release day, I'm the guy that if you call during the first hour to 2 hours we are open on a Friday release, you're almost certainly talking to me. And I am always singing the tune that I am so excited that you want to get this product. It just released. We had people that were waiting in line from before we opened. And you, person on the phone, can come get at the end of that line. But I am not going to take any phone orders for product until that line of people who were waiting from before we opened is completely taken care of. And that's something that's never going to change.
Yeah.
All right. Jason, I'm going to move you down and we have someone else. And Solemn Wishes. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
It's a power couple.
Yeah, so this is both Linda and I. I know a lot of you know me. I'm going off of basically what Jason's doing. Again, thank you, all of you, all 3 of you. Just keep it short for that part. One of the couple of things that I wanted to put up, piggybacking off of what Jason was saying, one of the main things that we all are trying to do for this, and just as I said, piggybacking off of what Jason was saying, the idea of having the people that play the most should get priority. And the reason why this should be like a big idea is because I totally get the casual players, like Ken, totally am with you. One of the things about casual players that I've seen, from myself included, when casual players start to come in, I don't want to shout out specific names, but there are some people that started to come in and play for the first time, and they've been coming every single week, so maybe missing 1 week or something to learn how to play. And one of the things, that's what we love to see, because, one, we want our community to grow bigger. We want to see more product get allocated to your stores. We also want to see, more people enjoy the card game that we all love and, we want to play so much. However, the main thing is that by alienating the main people that come here all the time, what it shows is basically saying, if you're going to take the casual player side or the ones that maybe come in every now and then. In one of the slides, I think it was slide 4 or 5, that showed, the 3, other than the scalpers, of course, where it showed that, people might not have a love for the product now, but they might change it in the future. The only problem with that is that we're the ones that showcase the love for the store. The store, I don't want to say grew because of players that come in constantly, but the community of One Piece in Game Kastle specifically, I wasn't one of the first ones in there. I came in during the middle part where it was growing, and then to now we have a constant like 20 to 25 people that come almost every week. I mean, it's incredible that you can see the growth from that. One of the things that we could do for this, and maybe this might be me just talking out of my ass, excuse me for the language, is, we have the TCG app, and one of the Bandai TCG app. It's not the greatest app. It's probably one of the worst apps we have. With what Jason was saying about 2 times a month, seeing people come, every week to play, how to easily make people, even if they're casuals as well, if you can check the app and it shows the history of when they were playing. So the idea is that when they're in line and waiting, one thing that you can come in, Ken, Boyd, or whoever else is working in the line of these pre-releases, you can say, take out your TCG app, because Ken was kind of doing something with the last one where he put tickets. And tickets are also good, but again, it doesn't solve the current issue that we are all experiencing here. With the checking of the TCG app, you can tell who's come, who's played, and in the case of what Jason was going off, which is what I'm piggybacking, if you see in the history that, they've been here twice this month or 3 times this month, all right, that's good. Oh, this guy hasn't been here for 3 months, and then from there, he wasn't there for another 3 months. I feel like that type of individual, if sure, he's coming in here, maybe he couldn't make it because of a drive. The idea is that, okay, there could be an issue that he couldn't make it or they could not come here. But because of that, a person that comes 3 times a month, constantly misses this one specific box. And I get because the allocation is limited, but that one person that did come, by putting this effort in to kind of showcase, okay, who is getting a little bit of the extra priority, they could get that box. And what this shows is that, hey, you know what? If you want to get a box, you want to make sure that you can understand the value that we're bringing into the Game Kastle community, you have to come in and you showcase the playtime. And I understand that the casual aspects, you don't want to scare them off. One of the main things that we all try to do, every single person here that I've seen, you can even ask Jason, Linda, Ricardo, Jose, Wes, the ones that really are trying to learn and really want to feel, welcomed, and they want to also be a big participant in, you can tell which ones are which. You can very much tell which people are not here to really kind of understand or play the game for fun, and that are here for either they're just one times or they're not feeling the right kind of, the mojo. And I feel like for that, it's like, I just think it's a little disingenuous. If a person that's we don't know what their whole situation is, of course, but if they're in a way, it's like, well, how do you know if they're just doing this to play and they might be a scalper in disguise? I'll tell you what, if a scalper comes 4 times a month and they consistently play, every single week, at that point, they deserved it. They put in the work, let them get the allocation if they made the time at that point. And I think that's the drive that we're all trying to come together as a community to make it so that we can get that understanding. And I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm hating all you guys. I mean, I've been playing this game since the game's release. Game Kastle is like my zone. I love you guys. I truly do. And, I can be myself with you guys, everyone around here. Everyone's been so nice to me, of course, with my wife. And I want to make sure I continue doing that. But if, something happens like this where I'm like, hey, I'm giving my all for this and I'm not getting, rewarded for coming in here, I'm just like, where's the love for this? You understand? And at the end of the day, this is a business, and we all have to take in consideration when you mentioned earlier, you're starting to get way more allocation. That's fantastic. The more that the store gets known, the more that hopefully more product gets in, and maybe the situation can be remedied. And that's basically my 2 cents. Yeah.
I also have 2 cents if you want to comment on Paul's 2 cents first.
I'll take 4 cents.
All right, I'm going to piggyback off Paul and Jason. I agree that we should use the Bandai app in some form or fashion to prioritize pre-orders for local players. Just because like a lot of stores, we know a lot of stores in the area are starting to prioritize local players just because the allocation, the limited stock and everything. And some stores in Virginia, they have priority players. Other stores in Maryland, it's two events a month, but not the specialty events like the Heroin or the Treasure Cup. So you have to go to actual locals because, participation at locals is what helps your allocation. And I really think it helps us players to play our best. There's nothing worse, like for example, EBO3. I think maybe 7 of us got boxes. And then, not being able to have proxies, because we have 2 proxies, just 2 cards for proxies. We need 4 Namis, 4 Robins. And the fact that we're playing like 2 to 3 weeks behind, while we're trying to get other cards from other stores or other friends, like we know for a fact, like over 10 people from another store cleared us out. And, that card pool goes to that store, never comes back to us. So we have to go to TCG Player or to local card stores or like event shows just to like try to make a meta relevant deck. And when you say like it alienates casual players that want to learn to play, I mean, have them come play because we do have extra decks like between us, Wes, James, we're all carrying multiple decks. Like, even if they can't get product, they can at least test with our decks. And if, we can print more proxies, more people can play. Because no one's going to say no to proxies unless it's, an official Treacherous Cup or something like that. So I think maybe opening the proxies will help a little bit, alleviate the frustration as well.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And I think the phone thing should be axed completely. I mean, we took advantage of it as well, like Jason said, but chaos. And sometimes, the announcement, like with pre-registration last time, it's just completely random. And I know most of us are working professionals. I have to lock my phone in a locker most days. So if it comes out at like 2 p.m., I'm not going to see it. I'm going to miss that window. And, I go there pretty frequently and I'm just like, damn, I missed it. So I have to go find another store. And it sucks from like, because we love Game Kastle, seriously. It's like, it's homey. It's next to a Starbucks, which is my favorite thing. I love my coffee and games. I think those are my 2 cents to make 4 cents.
Those are good 2 cents. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to think about there, which is good. One of the things we're gonna have to look at, I don't know if Bandai has changed this, but the weekly local play is still like an official tournament. Mm-hmm. And Bandai might have some strict proxy rules on there that we can sort of look into. I don't know if Ricardo.
Yeah, they do have that. And also with the proxies, I understand for other stores where the pricing is just the tournament packs and the winner pack. I can completely understand proxies in there because there's not much in stake for that. But when we're giving out, winner packs that are like, depending on how many players are in that tournament, that it could be like 6 to 7 packs for first place, and it kind of feels bad if your whole deck is made out of it. So for someone to win with a whole deck of proxies, which has happened before in other places.
It's tough. Because
I'm also going to jump in there because I literally read the Bandai OP policy right before this, and we can get thrown out if it's found out that we awarded prizes to people that use proxies in their decks. So while I'm sympathetic to that, I am significantly less sympathetic to someone taking an action that could cut out 30 people's ability to play One Piece at the store on any given week.
I mean, at that point, you could be like, if you run proxies in your deck, you're invalid for the winter packs, you know? I don't know if you could, like, I don't know how that would work out, actually. Like, does if they, like, for instance, if they play proxies, we allow proxies, they win, does the packs go to the person under them?
Yeah, that could be difficult. Another thing that could be difficult is that if we run an official event, and even if we have custom like pricing, where like if we were to do something like that, Bandai might have some strict wording on like no entry at all.
Mm-hmm.
That is correct.
Know Wizards of the Coast is really strict on this. I mean, I'm not surprised that Bandai is either. They're the other one. They're the big TCG giant here. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I just think like, just because I've seen it in other stores in this area that are allowing proxies, just because product is so difficult to get a hold of currently.
I got a few items I'm
not going to rat them out or anything, but like most of the locals that we've gone to have been allowing proxies for the most part. Yeah. And they're even like printing them out for them.
Sure. And I want to be clear here. One reason that I am as tight as that as I am is it does not tend to be the people in the store are using proxies that get you reported. It tends to be someone playing the game was disruptive or had problems with another player, and then they develop bad feelings about the store or the community of players that they have become estranged from, and they decide to take action. And that is regularly what happens with reports like that. But at the end of the day, Bandai or Wizards or whatever producer tends to look at those from the issue of, someone has reported that there is a store that's supposed to be involved in a program that helps us sell our product, and they are instead letting people use counterfeit cards, which is the phraseology that they use. And then they take it from that perspective to jump in and say, that's what you're doing. And then we have to deal with an investigation. I like to joke. So before I opened the store, I was a lawyer. And I like to joke that the longest legal brief I have ever written was for Wizards Court. And that was for Wizards of the Coast Court when I had to defend us against an allegation, one of which was the allowing the use of proxies. And I had to write a 31-page brief. And I don't ever want to do that again. I did want to ask, one of the items that was ID'd here was, talking about the familiarity with people who are there on Saturday nights. And I think that is really, really great. But the challenge with that is that the people that we have on staff on Saturday night are not necessarily the people we have on staff on a Friday morning or at the times when pre-orders are going to be happening. So there are some challenges there. They're not unworkable, but I want to make that clear. The last one I wanted to put forward to you is, we might find ourselves in a situation where, when we do actually figure out what our allocation is, that, let's say we're getting 100 boxes and Ken realizes that he needs to put 40 of those aside for pricing. So we have 60 left. And then we usually try and split that pretty close to 50-50. So that's going to leave us 30 boxes left that we could put up for pre-orders. And then we go and we look at the handy dandy TCG player app, and we see that we have 70 people that have played twice or more. That puts us in a particularly difficult position because I can't just say to any random associate, hey, when someone calls and says they want to order One Piece, you need to go look them up on TCG Plus. That's not workable. And so my question is, in those cases where we might have more qualifying people than we have packs that would be available, would you all be amenable to some sort of lottery?
I would. Paul and I would definitely be amenable to a lottery, just because we know the boxes would go to players at the store versus players from another store just coming in to buy product and just leaving.
And boy, you bring up a really good point because, we've mentioned it before. When One Piece started in Game Kastle, maybe like 7-8 people. Now we have 25 almost. There might be a point where we get to 70. And then when, you guys get product, you got to put a specific amount for pricing, and then you have to allocate it for pre-orders. And if all these people keep coming, how do you allocate it? And at that point, there could be a lottery system, or in that case, if all these people are here, then the first come, first serve can then come here because all these people constantly are coming. And you could do that. I guess with the first come, first serve, that could be a little bit of, if he then, she then, and all that stuff. But at that point, we know, okay, if these 70 people are coming and they all are constant people that are going, I'd rather have, say, if the last box is Wes in front of me in this example, I'm happy that Wes got this box as opposed to John Doe, who came and he was here at 4 a.m., having a smoked rabbit or something. And I'd rather have that because, Wes also comes, also plays. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, fine. That's cool. He's got it. Unfortunately, I didn't get it, but at least knowing it went to someone like that. And I think in that point, when it gets to that point, because it's not there now, and we don't know when it's going to come there. It could be 2 years. It could be 5 years. It could be 8 years. But it could be 6 months. We have no idea what that is, as you were mentioning. And I think at that point, you have a good idea of a lottery system could be that for those players.
I don't want to cut you off too quickly, but I'm glad to hear that you're interested in that. I will say we're not going to announce any solutions tonight. I do want to say that we have had. I'm going to move you down because I want to make sure we have as many speakers who are able to speak as possible.
Thank you.
But we also, and I will bring the next person up in a moment. I want to say that there is active chat going on in the chat. One person has raised a very important issue of what about collectors, which is certainly a useful thing to put up in front of us that we should be thinking about. And with that, we have one more person, I think, who has their hand up. I'm going to bring Persian Poppy to the stage.
All right, guys, how's it going? First of all, I want to preference this by saying I hope this is a safe space. I just want to make this really clear. First of all, I appreciate you guys. I love the community that we've built there. I just wanted to kind of not piggyback, because we all heard this already. I really appreciate you guys bringing up the points that you did. I just wanted to speak on my own experience and wanted to find out if there's better solutions. Number one, you brought up the allocation for participation packs and things of that nature. When I first started coming to Game Kastle almost a year ago or so, it was a smaller, intimate group. It was about, like we said, 8 to 10 people that were consistently there every weekend. Again, I don't want to speak on the same things that we've brought up, but I just want to say, for example, when I first started coming here, and everybody knows I'm not the person that plays every week. I'm not. But I'm the person that is there every single week, whether it's talking to people, joking around with people, if there's new people, trying to teach them the game, even though I'm not that great, but just in general, just creating a homie sense for people. But neither here nor there. What I wanted to say is when I first started coming here, I want to get into a little bit more specifics of things. I was paying every so often when I did play $10 to play in the locals every week. It was 8 to 10 people. I was guaranteed a participation pack and a pack from the current booster box. And you guys were charging us $10 for that. Something I wanted to bring up now in the past several weeks, because allocation has gone to being sold or kept on the side, now that our community has grown to be a lot bigger, which we are all grateful for. It's a great thing to see that we have a growing community. It's really, I think it's one of the most beautiful things ever to just see more and more people come slowly but surely and learn and just grow the environment. But that being said, now we're still paying the same amount and getting less. One thing I was going to bring up in aspect to it, since we're no longer getting participation packs, because like you said, we are getting about 30 people that show up now. and you're charging us $10 a person to play. Now that we're not getting participation packs and we're only getting tournament packs, would it be feasible to try and maybe change that $10 to the $5 marker? Now that that's not, an option anymore. This is just one side of it. Just in general, I don't want to harp too much on it. I'm sure you guys are just taking the notes down, so I don't want to take up too much of everyone's time. But as Linda was saying, as Paul was saying as well, I work a 9 to 5, guys. I love the game. I enjoy being around these people. However, you guys do releases on Fridays at 12 p.m. and I'm at work. So just like how you guys want to make sure everybody has a chance, what about someone like me that does show up? I might not play every week, but people see me play enough. And I'm there every single week. I don't think there's been a week that I've missed ever since I started coming up there, because I genuinely just enjoy the company of the people there and I enjoy being around people. But I hope there's some type of solution for everyone else that works a 9 to 5 as well. Because if not, like Linda was saying as well, now I'm at the mercy of someone who's a scalper. And I'm not saying anybody there is necessarily a scalper, but just in general, we've seen in your chats, you could literally read up. We've seen people post and be upset that they didn't get anything, but then at the same time, show us that they've purchased things and not really, I don't know how else to say this, but not really show us that they're opening it or actually involved in a community, more so that they're just buying stuff. Now, I did notice someone brought up something as, what if I'm just a collector? I get that. If you're a collector, by all means, collect. But now this is the part where I was trying to preference and hoping this is a safe space and not becoming the most hated person at these locals. We went from a group of 8 to 10 people, and every so often, I'm not going to speak for myself. I'll say basically that I didn't play every single week. I played every so often, but it was always 8 to 10 people. And we allocated money to play that weekend. And just like how you guys are prioritizing all this allocation for the store in general, I just wanted to be that guy, and sorry if it comes off the wrong way, but your allocation comes from us. You guys get the stuff that you've gotten because they see how many people show up. So the fact that the people that are showing up aren't being treated or attended to, then that kind of leaves a sour spot for us. Because what if we just showed up and we never paid? What if we showed up and then expect those people that stand in line that none of us have ever seen, or those people that we know, I'm not going to say no because it's subjective, but just in general, people that are saying in the chat, hey, I didn't get anything, and we've never even seen you a day in our life. And we're like, okay, what if those people were forced to come to create the allocation that you guys have now? And again, I know I'm coming off in a very dickheadish manner, but this is not my intention. And I do apologize for that, but I'm a very straightforward person. At the end of the day, there's a set few people. And again, it's so beautiful that so many more people are coming in as well. But as someone that's there every single week, I can probably tell you like, hey, this person's been here, this person's been here, this person's been here. They've been paying for you guys to get allocation. If all of us stop paying to get allocation for the store, and then those scalpers don't come in the first place, it defeats the purpose. And we're not here to, deter or say we don't want you guys to have business. We're just trying to make sure at the end of the day, the people that are putting their time in, putting their efforts in, and putting their own money in to make sure that there's something for the store or even a community that's being grown, get taken care of in some type of way. And that's all I had to say.
Ken, do you want to handle this one or do you want me to? Is anyone else unable to hear Kent Ricardo or you can?
I can't hear Ken.
Okay, yeah, Ken. Ken, you may have to restart your mic. I will try and field this. I totally get where you're coming from. A lot of the suggestions that have and I may honestly, because you've gone to pricing and funding and support for the game, which are frankly at the end of the day me issues. And I think it's very important to note that the organized play presence we have determines a couple of things. It determines the minimum allocation that Bandai forces our primary distributor to set aside for us. It does not determine the maximum amount of product that our distributors will make available to us. That is ultimately determined by those distributors, and I this is going to blow everyone's mind on this call. Those distributors make those decisions based on how much money we spend with them. I know you're all shocked, and I am so sorry for doing that. But but the other thing that regular player counts do is it increases the amount of prizing that we receive from Bandai, and we very, very much appreciate that. But one of the things that I have to be concerned about every day is overhead. And this is something I try to tell my staff when I remind them how important it is that we be nice to every person that walks through the door, not just the ones that like become regulars and play in the games with us all the time, is that both of those types of people are really important to the health of our store. The ones that become regulars, become evangelists for our store and become like family to us. And we love that they are there. What do the people who just come in and buy things, be that One Piece or something else, do? They subsidize all of our regulars, because the ones who are just coming in and buying something and leaving, they are essentially paying for all of that infrastructure that we use for events, so that you all can pay less for it. And so I don't want to say that there's a challenge there, but the truth of the matter is that those folks actually do a very huge service both to me and to all of you. If you just come in, buy your copy of Catan or your pack of Magic and walk out the door and we never see you again, thank you for contributing to the overhead of the store in a way that we would certainly like you to come back and be involved in play. But if you don't want to do that, you have still done a huge, huge favor to all of us. And essentially, you've lowered the transaction costs for everything else. And that is something I want to talk about with a lot of the options that have been suggested here. Because one of the places I know that Game Kastle has been very attractive is on price. We have looked at selling at MSRP in the past. We generally price to preserve margin, which essentially means that we're not going to price at market, but it means that when our distributors say, actually, for now, you all have to start buying things at 70% of MSRP instead of less than that, we have to increase that price or we just can't make any money selling anything. And then no one's purchases are contributing to the overhead of the store, and then it goes out of business. But the long and the short of that there is that, as we look at options, that the more complicated they are to operate, that requires staff time to implement them. My staff are already pretty exhausted, and we have to make sure that we are, that we are allocating them appropriately. We will obviously be giving time and attention to One Piece. We would not be having this meeting tonight if that was not the case. But there are some realities there. And I will say, and we will always have to give some level of importance to folks that might not be involved in organized play. If I look back to the two people that were first in line for the OP14 release, neither of them were organized play players. The first one was Josie, who is the store's convention manager. And I think that we can all agree that Josie does a whole lot for the store community, both One Piece and otherwise. And the next person in line was the person who really makes the logistics happen for the store's conventions team. And they had been out there since I want to say 2 a.m. And so I have to have some sort of situation that allows me to reward those folks as well. Probably what other stores do is they let those types of people pre-order under the table. That feels a little dirty to me. But what I'm starting to hear from folks is that you all might be comfortable with that sort of thing. And Ken, I think your mic is back, and you are also well placed to respond on this one. So go ahead.
Yeah, I hope I can be heard now. I missed, I think, a little bit of what was said. I heard Persian Poppy, which is a great name, by the way. But I missed a lot of what Boyd had said there. But I can see from my notes here, from what I did get, I think it's good to look at sort of people's availability who are still 9 to 5 people who are still like active participants. I think we can sort of look at, product releases are difficult, but like Linda talked about earlier, like event signups, we can limit those to like weekly play times. I think that's smart. So we do for a lot of other games, but it requires a lot of internal logistics, which is not always easy. But I mean, as we sort of people fall into their roles, it gets easier for that to become more of a regular pattern. So if you sort of see any disruptions to that, there's things that happen behind the screen, but I think that's an easy takeaway is sort of, what we can do to sort of help give our regular players chances. We can sort of try to make happen, even outside of product, just for like event registration. I think that's an easy one it's probably just going to happen without any sort of talk between me or Boyd. But yeah, I mean, also the pricing of weekly play we can look at, but I can tell you the one of the reasons that we had talked about months and months ago was that when tariffs started, prices like went up. Some distributors were sort of a little slower to react, which was good for us. But when they hit, that means that the price of packs went up. But it also meant like the weekly play kits, we have to buy those all as well from distributors. So those prices went up, but tariffs hit those as well. So sort of we got hit like 4 times, if you can think of it like that. But I mean, I can look at prices and see what we can do and see what we can go from there. But yeah, I know we're running over time a little bit, but I think I'll leave it with that.
I'm currently muted. We got one more person. I know this was scheduled from 7 to 8, and I'm happy to stick around till 8:30, or even until we have more people that are, if there are other folks, I'm happy to, continue this conversation. But I want to be respectful of Ken and Ricardo's time, and so if we need to cut it off at 8:30, we can certainly do that. We've got one more speaker. There we go.
I can't believe this. I just got laundry. That's all I got going on.
I'm bringing up Austin.
All right, I think I unmuted myself, so hopefully you can hear me. All right,
you can hear you loud and clear.
All right, good. Hey, it's Austin. I'm the local crazy guy, so I'm the local crazy guy. So, but I'm also a local player. So I've been playing for a while. I've been pretty much here. I probably since the beginning. I'm not trying to ask my hand out. I'm not trying to ask for anything. I would appreciate you guys do taking the one to talk about this. And a lot of my hot takes have already been discussed, so that's really good. So as a local player, right, I understand. I've been playing card games for a long time, so I do understand the process of how much player affects store and store status and all that stuff, and how you guys perceive products and everything. So I would like the future for like players at least, if you right. So I understand it's a hard balance between like players, collectors like Ed, and like the local Jimmys and Jennies who watch like the One Piece live action. Like, wow, hey, crazy show. Is there products that I go buy it at a local store and everything? So I understand there's like a really hard balance. Also, we'll try to deteriorate scalpers and everything. I think one of my proposals I want to say is you guys are already doing it, was limiting the products, but I really hope you guys also do limited products for people who participate weekly, as well as the option to buy. Like those who don't, like I said, people talk about how they have 9 to 5 jobs, so it's hard for them to call in or come in on release date. So like having products available for players who show up weekly, having a chance to be purchased would be something that would be appreciated for everyone. Right? So one of the things I wanted to bring up as a person who's been playing card games and knows how card games has seen over for a long time, with especially in regards to new players, that it's really hard for new players when they get in, right, for packs. Like most of the times they're just opening packs just to rip, right? So new players it's harder for new players to get in with packs as opposed to just recommend them to buy, hey, here's whatever the current starter deck is, structure deck, a pre-con, for you to play. Like this is like a way more easier concept for a new player to come in, right? To get into, right? And also packs sometimes are just 99% of a gambling hit, honestly, right? Because of that. But yeah, that's what I wanted to say in regards to like player attendance. I didn't have a lot to say because a lot of my talking points were already answered from other people, and you guys have honestly answered yourself because of that. But I would like to see like player base being looked after because, like I said, like Mo said, like a lot of the player is the one that helps give data, to how much you guys can get. All right, I think that's all I really have to say.
Sure. I mean, yeah, those are good notes.
I do want to, before we actually don't have anyone with a request up, so if we don't see one, we will end. But I do want to say that some of the suggestions we got when we were querying other stores were very effective, but I thought less than even-handed. And there's something that I there was one store, for instance, that said we don't tell our players when we're ever going to do pre-orders. But we do it sometimes. And they know that we do it sometimes. And then we just announce it. And that means that they all know that they absolutely must come to make their pre-orders in person at locals because they might get that opportunity at some point in time. And I didn't like that at all. I thought that sure, it's from my perspective, if I am like the evil store owner, that sounds absolutely great. On the other hand, I recognize that people take vacations and have lives and children and spouses and family members that have birthdays and things like that. And I don't want someone to have to say, no, Dad, we're not going to go to your birthday on Saturday night because it's absolutely important that we be at One Piece locals because we might have the opportunity to pre-order the next set. We just don't actually even know. That just sounds like, honestly, that sounds like the sort of corporate stuff that I exist to fight against. But I see that at least one person's okay with it, so maybe we will.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. It's it sounds good until it isn't. You could be there every week, and then something bad or terrible happens to your family, and you miss a week, and then you find out on top of that terrible thing that happens to your family, you also missed out, and all your friends got to get product or something like that. It always happens. Someone will always get a sort of a kick when they're down, and then it feels like a person who's been there every week then finds out that they missed one, or who knows. Like say we did it and we did a raffle on top of it, like a lottery. Say you were there every week and you didn't do your lottery on the 1 week that we did it. It's always kind of a nightmare. Some stores sort of subscribe to the idea that like the regular players are the good ones, so allocation goes to if you're going to pre-order boxes, you can only do it to the people who score first in a tournament. And from experience, I always find out that leads to a sort of corruption of good play, which I think we've done. The players here have done a really, really good job at sort of building a foundational rock of good sportsmanship and community. And I always try, and when I look at possible solutions, I look at what are the chances that any sort of change to anything can sort of corrupt all the work that people have put in to build that. right? And that store that suggested, oh, like our top 3 players get to pre-order, that means that if word gets out about that, then people have a real dog in that fight to cheat during games, and they also, will sort of intimidate players, and that's something we've done a really good job. I say we, it's mostly the people who are playing every week. You've done a good job at making sure that people are welcome and be, playing fair. And so I think that's also something to consider. If we were looking to make changes, we have to make sure that we're not incentivizing the wrong type of behaviors. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys are all on top of that one. But yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we don't have
Anyone
any more
hands?
hands up, so I want to say thank you to everyone. I didn't give my normal speech about everybody keeping it civil, but you did, and I really, really appreciate that. Even some of the people who are like, I'm coming in hot and spicy. No, you came in respectful and kind, and honestly airing your view, which is exactly the sort of conversation we want to be having with y'all. Open and honest, but communicating real things. And so thank you all for some great feedback. It's definitely going to feed into Ken and I's regular weekly meeting tomorrow. That'll let us make some decisions and move forward. So thank you all. And I'm going to mute myself and then leave it to Ken and Ricardo to close us out. Thanks so much, folks.
I mean, yeah, I don't have anything sort of to close other to say thanks for everybody. Everybody who was here did a great job at sort of voicing their thoughts. You can still, even if you, think of something later, feel free to put it in the chat. We can sort of respond to it. You also, Boyd and myself, me, I'm Ken. You can always message us on Discord if you have thoughts in the future or anything like that. I will literally always answer your messages, sometimes slower than I'd like to, only because I get a lot of messages. So even if you sort of feel like, oh shoot, I should have asked something, the door is literally always open. So yeah, that's everything for me. Ricardo, do you have anything? You want to do any freestyle raps or anything like that to close us out?
No, not today. Maybe next week. Maybe next week. Maybe next week.
All right. Well, yeah, I think we're good to go. Then thanks everybody.